Welcome. In this video, I'd like to take you on a tour of an app that I just designed. Technically, this app is a prototype that I made with a prototyping software called Axure, and I designed this app to simulate the process of running a two-sample t-test, and this app actually has a special feature that I haven't seen in other simulation apps. It allows you to run a two-sample t-test to decide whether to reject the null hypothesis, and then afterward, look at the two population means and decide if a correct decision, type 1 error, or type 2 error was made. And before we get started, I wanted to mention that you can find the link to this prototype in the description for this video. It's on a, well, actually in the description for this video, you'll find a link to my website, and the prototype link will be on my website. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, we want to click on Take Samples. And that's going to take a random sample of 5 people from this population and a random sample of 5 people from this population, and it's going to record the ages of all 10 people. And if we click on Calculate, it's going to calculate the mean of these 5 people, the mean of these 5 people. It's also going to calculate the 2 sample standard deviations, and it's going to calculate the t-statistic. And this first sample mean is an estimate of this population mean, which is the mean age of population 1. And this sample mean is an estimate of the mean of population 2, which is the mean age of population 2. And when I designed this app, I intended for these numbers to be ages, but they don't have to be ages. They could be anything that's a 2-digit number that falls roughly between 20 and 55. And now let's choose our alpha level. So now I set the alpha to 0.05, and the critical values will appear here and here for 8 degrees of freedom. And now I want to select the area that contains my t-score. So if I look at the t-statistic, it's negative 1.33, which means it's between the 2 critical values, and it's in the non-rejection region. So I'm going to click that right there. And now I'm going to make my decision. So the t-score is in the non-rejection region, so I'm not going to reject the null hypothesis. And when I click on Do Not Reject H0, the 2 population means will appear. The mean age of population 1 and the mean age of population 2 will appear. And it looks like they're 34 and 35. So I didn't reject the null hypothesis, and it looks like the null hypothesis is false. H1 is true because the 2 population means are different. So what happened in this situation is there actually is a difference between the 2 populations. It's just my data set failed to show strong evidence for it, which is a type 2 error. So I click on type 2 error, and then it'll give me the correct answer so I can check my answer. And I was correct because it is a type 2 error. And now I can go back to reset, and it'll start the process over again, and I can do another simulation. So now it's like I'm sampling 2 new populations. It's like I'm running a new study in which I once again want to know if there's a difference between the mean ages of the 2 populations. And the 2 population means might be the same, but they might not be the same. They're once again unknown. So now I click Take Samples again, and I get 5 random ages from population 1 and 5 random ages from population 2. I click Calculate, and I get my sample statistics, and I also get the t-statistic. Now it's negative 1.45, which is in the non-rejection region. So I'm going to not reject H0, and the 2 population means are unequal again, so I have a type 2 error. And that's the correct answer. And let me try one more time. Actually, let me hit reset and take samples and see what I get this time. And calculate. Now I got a t-statistic of negative 0.22, which is in the non-rejection region. But first I need to set my alpha to 0.05, and then non-rejection region, and do not reject H0. And now the population means are equal, which means I made a correct decision. I didn't reject the null hypothesis, and that was the correct decision because the null is true and it shouldn't be rejected. So I have a correct decision. And now I can do a fourth simulation, but let me show you another feature that you could use. So if you click on take samples, it'll leave the population means to the same numbers, and it'll resample. It'll take 5 new people from population 1 and 5 new people from population 2. And now I can get my new t-statistic. So to get that, I have to press calculate again for it to update the calculations. And after I press calculate, alpha is still set to 0.05. If I wanted to change it to 0.01, I can, but I don't have to. And I'm going to choose non-rejection region. Do not reject H0. And once again, it's a correct decision. And now let's do it one more time. So I take samples and then calculate to update the calculations. Now it's negative 1.13. So it's non-rejection region. And I have another correct decision. Well, I don't reject H0, and I have another correct decision. And you can see down here that it keeps a record of the outcomes. So far I have 2 type 1 errors and 2 type 2 errors. I can clear this record if I want to. What I do is I just press clear screen, and it erases them, and it starts over again in case I want to just restart my record. And there's one more feature I want to show you. If I want to, I can set the population means to whatever I want. So let's say I set them to 10 and 40. So now we have one population with a mean age of 10 and another population with a mean age of 40. So now I click on take samples, and it'll sample these 2 populations. So notice how these ages tend to be close to 10 and these ages tend to be close to 40. And now I click on calculate to get my calculations, and I have a t-score that's pretty far below 0, simply because I got 2 sample means that are pretty far apart. Looks like the first sample mean is about 9 and the second one is about 39. Now I just select my alpha. I have non-rejection region. I reject the null hypothesis because I'm in the one of the rejection regions. And since the null is false, the population means aren't equal, I have a correct decision. And when I press, let's see, well, I can either go to reset and refresh everything and have these be question marks again, or I can click on take samples and resample my 2 populations with the means of 10 and 40. And either way, this record is going to update when I click either take samples or reset. So if you're wondering the specific moment that this record updates, it updates whenever you click take samples or reset. One or the other will update the record. And like I said, if you click take samples, it resamples your populations. And if you click on reset, it refreshes everything and these go back to question marks. So hopefully you found this to be interesting. And if you think this might be something useful to you, either as a teacher or just in some other way, feel free to go to my website. The link is in the description, and you'll find the link to this prototype on the website.